So I rate my humble self, Dr. Drugs, and I want to educate, even if we're just 5 here, I'm even okay. That's impacting 5 lives. You understand? Because this issue or issues or these intellectual disabilities have actually caused a lot of problems for people. Some women don't sleep at night. Some are even scared of their children. Some are even scared of what is happening currently and what might happen in the future. Now, I'm going to point out certain things that we seem to omit and we don't really understand. Now, some of them may sound funny, but they are actually true. So we'll talk about autism, and then maybe we'll just touch a little on Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, just very brief before we open the line or doors for people to ask questions. So what is autism, autism spectrum disorder? It is a developmental condition of variable severity. That means the severity varies from one level to another, from one person to another. And is significantly affecting verbal and non-verbal communication and social interaction. That's why sometimes the children that are affected do not look you in the eyes. And restricted or repeated pattern of thought and behavior. You see that they find it very difficult to leave certain things and do another thing, or they repeat the same thing over and over again. So you see, if we want to have a very, a concise definition of this condition, we will say that it's simply a neurological and developmental disorder that affects communication, social interaction, and behavior. Indeed, it is what I call a silent epidemic. People are suffering from this condition. They don't even know who to talk to. Who will you explain to? And sometimes people are embarrassed by it and hide. I know a couple of people that were supposed to join today, but they were appealing to me that please, they just want that they are busy. Can you just tell me in private and all that? And I'm like, okay, after the meeting, but there's nothing to hide about it. I'm going to show us why there's nothing to hide about this matter. You will be shocked when I give you an analogy of this matter, and you will see that a lot of people are having this problem without even knowing. Even our politicians have it. Some of our politicians, if you are smart enough to observe their behavior, some will say something this month, next month they will say another thing. That is poor communication. It's autism. No matter how we sugarcoat it, that is autism. You see some people when they are in grief, you see the way they behave. Maybe some of them, when you tell them a bad news, they start tapping themselves like this. Ask the person why he was tapping himself or herself like that at that point in time. You see that that is a repeated behavior that has no meaning. What has that got to do with the grief? Guess what? Stress. The stressor that provoked that autistic or hidden autistic characteristic was what? Grief. I'll explain that further. So autism is regarded as a spectrum disorder, and this means that it can present itself differently in different people. For example, one may just have one of the qualities of the autism spectrum, and the others may be completely absent. It means that somebody may be 1/5, 2.5/5, 3/5, 0.5/5, 0.001/5. You understand? But it is often there, and we'll see what brings it out. So from definition, you can permit me to observe that this means that everybody you know is autistic to various degrees. I know this may sound strange, and this may be very difficult to swallow, but I will explain why I made this comment, and then after the meeting, you agree with me or not, and we'll share our views on this. So you see, it's based on various stressors and ambient conditions. What this means is that someone that is angry can begin to behave autistic, like an autistic person. Someone that, for instance, I gave an instance on the, I think it's on the internet about a bus driver and exchange saying that do you know he's a mad person? That is poor communication. Who says he's a mad person? Or a situation where you go to a place where people smoke anyhow, and then if such a person comes to our environment, that person is already in Yaba. They'll say this one is a mad person. That is it, because the environment has defined what is termed as being autistic. And if you even look at a situation like when people take a lot of alcohol, for instance, go and observe them very closely. You will see that these people that are taking alcohol, you can see them moving backward and forward on the same spot. That is perseverativeness. You ask them a question and they are slurry speech and all that. That is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication. Some of them, you tell them, look at me, and they are looking at, where are you? They can't even make eye contact because the stressor in this situation is what? Alcohol. So I will explain why it is more prominent in people that have autism, okay? So now, it's just in line or in tandem with the neurodiversity or behavioral or characteristic differences in the human species. What is acceptable in one place may not be in another. Oftentimes, these behavioral differences are set or marked or categorized based on the what? Accepted ambient, accepted norms in a society, as I just explained. The stressors that are affecting the person at that point in time, and the responsiveness of that person to the stressor. So you see that people that we term are autistic, they respond more adversely to stressors that other people may endure. But those other people that are enduring those stressors, if you increase the intensity of that stressor, you will certainly at a point see autistic tendency begin to come. Then you will see that it is hidden in almost everybody. In fact, there's nobody you know that does not have this condition or has not had it when they were a child. It's just that some people are not fortunate enough to escape from it earlier, and it becomes obvious that they are lagging behind. So I stand to be corrected, but if you have a different opinion on this, you can actually get across to me and let's rub minds together. But based on the aforementioned, children living with autism are not to be what? Cured, but they are to be accommodated with love in the society. Remember that the way your face appears when you are relating to someone that has autism can even trigger autistic tendencies in that person. I understand the pressures that a lot of mothers go through, a lot of parents go through, but we always have to make sure that the environment is, the ambience of the environment is conducive, no matter the circumstance we find ourselves. So these are just a few types of autism. Asperger's syndrome was just merged in autism. Before, it was a separate syndrome where you have people that seem to behave normally, but they have other parts of the spectrum at the display as well. Then we have pervasive development disorder, which is a milder form. Of course, we have the major one, which is the classic autism and all that. So these are the signs: difficulty with social interactions, verbal and non-verbal communication issues, perseverative interest, that is repetition of particular response, such as a phrase, gesture, or something, or behavior. Stereotypic body movement, as I mentioned with the drunkard, rigid routines. That's why sometimes when you say to an autistic child that it's time to go to school and he starts shouting, no, he doesn't want to go to school. And he can do that every day from January to December. You understand? That's part of it. Then over and under sensitivity to sensory inputs. You see, you just turn on the light and the child is like this. You're like, what is just a low? Or somebody's blasting music somewhere, or the child is trying to sleep and you hear somebody laughing like a clown around the vicinity of the child. That sound can sound like thunder in that child's ear because the sensory aspect is excess. But in other situations, you may be shouting and calling the child will not even answer you. That's another part of it. So that's just a brief. Then, of course, restricted interest and difficulty to change. So you can see, these are the complications. Of course, a few of them: learning issues, as we all know, social isolation, nobody wants to interact with them, anxiety, depression, self-harm, bullying, amongst others. So we're just rushing to somewhere. Now, these are the places where I need to calm down and explain things a little more. You see, one thing about age is that the older we get, the less sound our DNA is. That is just a rule. But it doesn't mean that younger people cannot have children that are having autism. Like, it's also found that teenagers that give birth to children too early, also one way or the other, have a high risk of having children with autism. Then people above on or around or above 40, when they put to bed, can also have a high risk of autism, of having children with autism. Certain prescribed drugs, we all know that chemicals are generally not allowed. We'll talk more on that. Prenatal, perinatal, that's during pregnancy, for instance, maybe having an infection, and neonatal, that just after birth complications, can actually provoke this issue. Some people have infection during pregnancy. Some people were malnourished and overstressed during pregnancy. And these are, some people were smoking and drinking during pregnancy. And, and even during childbirth, one may have delayed delivery, and that may hinder oxygen supply to the brain and trigger autism. A lot of things like that. So someone was asking me about the risks to this. Here they are: chemical substances, dyes, drugs, additives, pesticides. We'll talk about that shortly. Environmental factors too, hostility, air pollution, and added hostility there, and shock as well. Because I think there was an issue of a child that was under serious shock and couldn't speak. Until a long time, child couldn't speak. So it's possible. I'm a witness to that. Preterm, I will suspect that was what happened, because the child underwent shock and all of a sudden couldn't speak. Preterm birth, that's when the child is born before time. Genetics. So if I have a case where two sisters have children that have it. Then we have being a male is also a very strong risk factor. Poor brain development is super important. We take note of this. And then small birth weight, delayed delivery, malnourishment, like lack of folic acid, like lack of folate analogs, lack of vitamin D, 1,2,5-dihydrocholecalciferol, essential fatty acids like eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid. Excuse me, we keep seeing packets with DHA written boldly on top of it. Many of them are completely fake. If you want to know the real one, open the capsule, pour water in a glass cup, open the capsule and pour it in there. Take styrofoam, that's what they call floater. Drop a little of it there and wait. If it doesn't dissolve it, it is fake. Styrofoam is structurally or somehow similar to cholesterol. And these are known to be very good cholesterol aggregates. That's why people that have stroke are also giving this thing. People that have brain issues are also giving it, because it's brain. We'll talk about that shortly. And bear in mind that it occurs about 1 in 100 people worldwide. You see, this is very important in management. Management simply means the various activities and processes used to mitigate, prevent, or reverse the progression of this intellectual disorder. But of note is this: number one, the mother is the first doctor after God. Her knowledge of this condition and how to manage it is key in the management of this condition. In this last period, I don't know whether about 100 people called me. 98 were women, mothers. You can actually hear them fighting with it. I don't know this. Sometimes you just see as if the whole house is turning upside down. I just have to be patient with them. Sometimes I have to tell the mother to bring the child, let me see, to observe the child and know the level or the degree of issue, at least to know how serious it is. And you see that mothers are really going through a lot. So educating women and mothers is the most important thing, or one of the most important things in the management of this condition. We take it or leave it. Because the first interaction a child is having is with who? The mother. So putting your hope in us health practitioners is even wrong. You should try to understand this condition so well enough that you can even, to a good extent, manage it independently. I will give us some examples of what I'm talking about. I stand to be corrected. And if I say what you feel is not correct, I'm not saying this. I'm not coming here to talk as someone that knows it all. We can all share knowledge together. I stand and I will learn from you as you are learning from me. And that's just the way I feel it's supposed to be. Then the second important thing here is improve neural connections. This is one of the most neglected aspects in the management of this condition. People are after what happens physically when you're having the physical therapy, language therapy, speech therapy, you're paying this therapist, you're going to that special school and all that, you're paying 1 million, 2 million, 500,000. But let me ask a simple question. If the brain does not adjust itself structurally to accommodate these things you are teaching these children, please, where will those things enter? It's almost a complete waste of time. People waste their time doing these things without taking cognizance of the factors that help to mitigate it and factors that help to damage neural connection. It is the most important thing. It is even more important than therapy. Because a child that is, the brain is not developing and you are talking to the child is not hearing you. What are you doing? You are wasting your time. You need to give the brain what it needs to develop. And that is how we can manage this issue better and more effective. So without improved neural connections, all other activities and therapies are not so useful. I stand to be corrected. And if you feel I'm not saying the right thing, you can just show me your evidence and I will learn from you. But so far, as a scientist and a health practitioner, this is the most important thing you can do for a child. It's just like pouring water inside a basket. And every day you take the water, you pour in the basket. And you're hoping that one day that basket will be full. It is impossible. You must cover the holes in the basket before you can pour water in there for something to be contained and for improvement to take place in that child. That's why this our talk today is very, very important. So the management, apart from the use of chemical drugs, of course, which will not lead to sedation, weight gain, and all that, another side effect, entails what? Early management via what is called applied behavioral analysis. If we are not going to, because I don't want us to talk more than an hour, but if we're going to, if we finish before an hour, I will show us what this means. Cognitive behavioral therapy, because this is essential, because you know that the causes of this issue include attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, anxiety, depression, and all that. So cognitive behavioral therapy is going to help. Avoid chemical substances. I'm telling you, you guys are going to be shocked this evening. What I'm going to show you. Just be patient. Insecticide, perfumes, don't worry, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, dieting. Of course, we all know that long-term gluten and casein-free diet. We'll talk about that a little later. Less sugars also help. That's why you see when children take too much of sugar, they run up and down like, in fact, you can't even control them. So you see, that is what they call sugar rush. My brothers and sisters in the Lord, that sugar rush you're calling is ADHD. You know that when you want to pronounce something in something very terrible to sound nice, just select an English word for it. Sugar rush is ADHD. Now, dieting, in quotes, sorry. Now, dieting, natural pharmaceuticals to help mitigate the negative consequences of comorbidities. I'll explain what comorbidities mean briefly. And effects of this health situation by helping, and its effects of this situation by helping with proper neural connections, which is the key in brain development. Look at it over there. So let's bear in mind that vaccines have no business with this condition. People say that vaccines have problems and they don't give their children vaccines. That's very, very wrong, and it's not correct. So these are just a few of the comorbidities, the things that are associated with this condition. In my seminar, I call them the Ashebi. The autism is the bride, and the comorbidities are the Ashebi. That means you just attack the people that are behind, because you cannot attack autism directly based on the fact that it is an intellectual disability. That means it's the way the brain is wired that is actually the problem. You understand? So you can only attack those things that come along with it and hinder factors that provoke it. Now, epilepsy is one of them. I hear people taking all sorts of things. Unfortunately, these things are like a double-edged sword. As they are cutting this way, they're cutting on that way. Well, sometimes we have no choice but to take people out of danger. You understand? Learning disabilities, we talked about that. Anxiety disorders, depression, sensory processing disorders. And these are the estimated percentage of the population of people that have this condition, that have these comorbidities. You see, some children also have gastric issues. But let us also bear in mind that there's a strong link between our brain and our gut, our stomach, our intestine. We will talk about that some other time, or you can ask questions about this later. We can discuss. Sleep disorder is also an issue. You find some of them wake up around 3 a.m. and start shouting, making noises, distorting the whole environment. Probably somebody's phone rang and woke the child abruptly, you know. So that's why it's very important that we take this insomnia part very, very serious. Or you give the child too much sugar in the night, or you give the child a semo, all these things that later produce sugar, the child begins to display ADHD in the middle of the night, and you're wondering what happened. I'll show us why. Weak bones, because you know that the low dairy aspect of it, that's because the casein in the milk has been postulated to worsen the situation. So people are actually moving away from milk and giving other alternatives. But you know that milk also is very essential for bone formation in children, bone development in children. So you can see that that's also an issue. Of course, I mentioned GI issues earlier. Just a few tips. Now, avoid casein dairy products for at least 2 to 4 years. Gluten, wheat, pasta, noodles, pastries, bread, burger, pizza, etc. off. Monosodium glutamate, Maggi, bad for them completely. You understand? Refined sugars, Coca-Cola, Fanta, all these things, they are not good because they are able to provoke ADHD. Remember that carbohydrates ultimately turn towards glucose at the end of their journey. So saying that you don't give your children Coke or anything does not mean that you're not giving them all these things that can lead to the production of those things. And look at gluten, wheat, and all these other things can lead to gluten. And these are part of the problems that we're talking about. A lot of people do not know these things. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'll show us some other things. Remember that development of the brain is key. And remember that a stitch in time saves 9. This development means that we have to do what we're supposed to do early, because the point at which the brain stops, the neural connections have reduced and the brain has stopped growing. That child has a tendency to start life from that point onwards. And it's a terrible thing. Trust me, it's very terrible because of this, the complications associated with this condition, especially in a girl child. Just imagine a girl that is having autism. It's more difficult for her to even get married. So let's just be sincere with ourselves. These are the chemicals to avoid. If you have your diary and paper, begin to write, because there are many things. I'm shocked that many women don't even know these things. Pesticides, air pollution, like you can see particulate matter in the air is not good. Lead, mercury, we all know this already. Phthalates, these are chemicals commonly found in where? Plastic and personal care products. I'm sure that a few of these are mentioned, up to 80% of people here have never heard them before. Then polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, like in air pollution and tobacco. So you see that when a woman is even pregnant or the baby is there and the father is busy. I was in South Africa that day, and one man was just busy smoking into the face of their toddler inside. I had to walk up to the man and say, "Sir, please, you can't smoke in front of this child like that. It's not healthy." And the mother of the child virtually thanked me. You understand? How can you be smoking into the face of a baby for the love of God? And then later you say, "Hey, you don't know why the child is having autism." I mean, I had to stop that. Then we have perfluorinated. People have this non-stick frying pan, all those things. That is it too. And some food packing. That's that one that they say, I think they say that they banned in Lagos also, that food package, look at it. Then look at chemicals found in plastic and canned food linings, bad. Then we have substances that interfere with hormones, volatile organic compounds where I'm rushing to. So you can see when people finish painting their house newly, they carry a child that has autistic tendency inside to go and inhale all the chemicals there. And then in the night, the child starts shouting and saying, "Ghost, ghost, ghost." You see, you've triggered the child. Cleaning products, even during pregnancy. Can you imagine that the woman that is pregnant, baby is not even born, and the woman that is pregnant went inside where they just finished painting the house? It's even predisposing the child to this condition. So you can see cosmetics, our beautiful ladies. Everybody wants to be fine. You are painting your nails and you are painting autism into the child. Please be careful. Beauty is secondary. Child development comes before beauty. It is better you don't even paint, don't make your nails at all, and have a child that is healthy and is social and is living a normal life than to be after every product that is for painting and adorning ourselves and they contain chemicals. Let's just watch this. Now, use of preservatives, parabens, you can see them, they lead to hormonal imbalance. Phthalates again, the fragrances in the nail polish. You can see that. This one, the bisphenol is also here. You can see that triclosan. People using is it close-up and what's that, Colgate and all those things. Look at it here. When I was telling somebody you have to change all those things you are giving your child, person was like, even the I use baby toothpaste. I said, oh my goodness. Fluoride, they keep saying it's inconclusive, but I know that that one is because of heavy, that is, there's some things you just can't stop. You understand? Because just like tobacco smoking now, we all know it's bad for the health, but you see that government is even collecting tax from it. There's some things you just can't stop because of the pressure. People always say that they're in the middle, they are not sure, whereas it's a lie. They know that fluoride is not good. Apart from that, it causes fluorosis. It also causes weak bones in children. So you can see that. And you can see that many of the soaps people are using to bathe their children. Look at triclosan. You can see it again. The antiseptic soap people are using to bathe their children, and they are wondering why their child is not improving. That is it here. With anything I show you here, just go and type it on Google. Just go and Google it first. Then, siloxanes, hair and skin products. Toluene, nail polish and hair dye. Oh my goodness. As in so many things. Formaldehyde, look at it. Bone straight. The hair must be straight like Express Road in America. Look at it. Synthetic fragrances. They want to spray perfume. Some people want to spray perfume. In fact, it's mainly for the perfume to lift them up the floor like a rocket. They are still spraying. That is it there. Aluminium is found in deodorants. Apart from the fact that it causes breast cancer because the tail of the breast extends to under the armpits. People don't even know. While you are rubbing all those things and spraying all your Rexonate and all your Sure and all those things you are spraying directly on your breast. And that's why a lot of women have breast cancer. So you need to use substances that don't have aluminium in there. You understand? And it's also linked to brain issues. You know, there are so many, quaternium 15. Now, in creams and lotions, because this is the one they say, at least let my child be looking fine. Let people not notice that they're having autism, whereas they are rubbing autism on the child. Parabens, look at them. Phthalates, fragrances, artificial dyes, red 40, yellow 5, mineral oil. The woman told me that she's rubbing petroleum jelly on her baby, on her child. There's no problem. I told the woman that there's fragrance there. And apart from that, she didn't even know that the petroleum jelly too is a trigger. A lot of women will have, I just go and mark today, between today and the next 2 years. If you follow the rules that I'm giving here, you will see that as far as the child is not beyond the point of rapid brain development, that child will be, the improvement will be so much that you may not notice that that child had problems before. I'm talking from experience. Look at formaldehyde, look at aluminium, look at toluene, dioxane, a lot of things. So when you want to choose creams and lotions, what do? Non-toxic, hypoallergenic, fragrance-free, dye-free, paraben-free, phthalate-free, natural, just remember to ask of all this and make sure you have a sound hair practitioner you can always call on the phone and ask, I want to buy this thing. There's a woman that showed me a product. I don't want to call the name of this. It's a multi-level marketing product and all that. I'm not against multi-level marketing. I'm mostly interested in what the products contain because a lot of cases I have, you can't use chemical drugs there. For instance, this autism, you can't use chemicals are contraindicated in autism generally. So we don't have a choice. And one of the creams that one of these companies, I asked the woman, read the company. I always tell the mothers, bring all the things you apply on that child. When they gather it, we start reading from A to Z to know the one that contains. The first thing the woman said was sodium benzoate. I said, madam, just wait. We went to Google and checked. Contraindicated. And she has been rubbing this sodium benzoate every day, every time on this child. She did not know. That's why our meeting is very important. So the other matters we'll discuss, these are just things on the side. They may sound funny, but some people still believe that autism is witchcraft. They say, my enemies are after me. They start rushing to all forms of places. I know people that called me and told me that they even went to native doctor. There's nothing that people don't do. Some may go beside the river and start flogging a poor child, worsening the autism, because the cane on the child is different from how you're feeling it. They have hypersensitivity to stimulus. So if you flog the child once, like you have flogged the child 100, and the child will scream and they say that the spirit is coming out. Oh my goodness. Africans, you won't kill me. The spirit is coming out and the child is dying. And then guess what? The child's brain has been stressed up, insomnia in the night because of the body pain. And then they say that, that woman is really good at handling this matter. Look at how quiet the child is, not knowing that the child is exhausted and the matter is so bad that by the next 3 days, they will not even go to that one again because they will say that woman has finished their child. Let us go to another one. They say one baba and one hill there is better. And maybe that one uses 2 by 2 to flog children. I don't know what's going on, but these things happen. Then Epsom salt, please. I know people have been, Epsom salt promotes ADHD. So when the air practitioner says you should soak the child in a warm bath and put the very tiny Epsom salt is what you max, is what you should just start put. Don't go beyond that. As if you put at all, just soak the child in water, just leave the child there. You understand? I didn't say you should soak the child's head, though, just the body in water to cool. Are you getting me? I heard of someone that was giving Epsom salt to the child to drink and said that the thing normally helps the child to relax. Not knowing that Epsom salt causes diarrhea. And she said that when the child wakes up in the morning, he starts spraying feces all over the house. And even on her head, Epsom salt was working. She did not know. I had to show her. Look, I took her to the internet. Look at it. These are the bad advices people are getting. So if our mothers know about these things, this matter will be mitigated. Vaccines don't cause autism. Autistic people also have emotions. These are things people are always not sure about. Poor parenting does not cause autism. And so it was because the man doesn't know how to train children. That's why he's not having autism. It's not true. Technology is a very, very crucial place we're going to talk about. Who said that a child that has autism cannot use iPad or watch TV? Who is saying that? I don't understand. You understand? Use of gadgets like iPad and TV have very good effect on children with autism, but should just be managed in order to avoid disruption of bedtime and other activities. Period. Simply use the things you want the child to learn to fill up the gadgets. If the child won't relate to anyone or anything except that gadget, what is the wisdom behind depriving them? Why not use it to your advantage? A lot of people are getting advice from people that studied when there was no Android phone and there was no iPad. And they are still passing down those things down to this generation now. Please, those songs that if the child will not listen to you, will not listen to the teacher, will not stay in one place, will be upset and throw tantrums, go to one corner of the room and face the wall, will not talk to anybody. And the only thing that the child is communicating with is the iPad. You better put everything you want that child to learn in that iPad. It's better for you. The person that is telling you not to use your child, give your child iPad, go and check. That person may not even have a child that has had autism before. You're taking advice for somebody that is selling a product against pimple and the person's face is full of pimples. Doesn't make any sense. Apply wisdom. A is for apple. Apple. B is for ball. Ball. C is for cat. Cat. They keep watching these things. One day you will just hear your child say, "Mommy, good morning, B is for ball." The child has started talking. But make sure you watch what the child is watching, period. So anybody telling you that you don't use iPad, please give the person my number. Let me know where they went to study, because it doesn't make any sense. This is 2024. What is the difference between a woman standing in front of the blackboard and trying to talk to the child and the woman in the iPad talking to the child? If the one of the physical is not accessible, please use the one in the iPad. If you feel I'm wrong, you can correct me. I'm open for correction. Just contact me and tell me what you think about what I'm saying. So, since we know that chemicals are contraindicated in this condition, are we going to just leave the child like that? No. We can use natural pharmaceuticals to support these children. You understand? Because these natural pharmaceuticals rarely have side effects. For instance, they provide fatty acids or brain food like EPA and DHA. EPA and DHA has been known to combat insomnia, help the child to sleep well, help in brain development, help in speech, a lot of things that it does for the child. But the problem is you see giant EPA, fake. Giant DHA, fake. People are buying the one they sell 3,000 naira. You are buying groundnut oil and giving your child, and you want the child to get better. How? They provide natural neurotransmitters for improved brain function like choline. Choline is very important because a very important neurotransmitter in the brain is called acetylcholine. It's an analog of acetylcholine. So it's very important for better neural activity. Improved nerve function and response. Yes, we have cobalamin analogs, we have folate analogs, we have pyridoxine analogs. These things help to myelinate the nerves, improve the nerve growing and connecting. When you say hi, when you say, "What's your name?" "My name is Mr. ABC." There's a connection that has happened in your brain that has stored that one. It has moved from your hippocampus to wherever it's going to be stored as long-term memory from short-term memory. That is how the brain works. That is it. Mitigate gastrointestinal issues. Of course, we know about bifidobacteria and the lactobacillus species, like lactobacillus acidophilus, like the ones you find in your Greek yogurt and all that. But we need very sound ones for this. They need to relax the brain against insomnia. We all know about chamomile. For people giving Epsom salts, go for chamomile. I will show us examples of what I use successfully. They improve and maintain bone integrity. Very, very important, because you know that the lack of milk as a result of the avoiding casein, you have to substitute for that, because you know that milk is very essential for bone development. General rejuvenation and rejuvenation of the body. We have powerful adaptogens in natural form. The typical adaptogen is aloe vera, and that adaptogen sometimes has an adaptogenic quality. Moringa has adaptogenic quality. Someone will be asking honey, one way or the other, but you know that because of the sugar content of honey, we should be cautious with that. That's why you see that when people have burns, when you apply honey there, oftentimes nothing may appear. Or you apply aloe vera on the bone, nothing may, because it has triggered somatic stem cell stimuli. Please, I want to say this. There is nothing like swallowing stem cell through your mouth or putting stem cell under your tongue. All those things are rubbish. Because the barrier between your tongue and that stem cell is cells that make that barrier. So cells cannot be passing through cells. And the acid in the stomach cannot accommodate any cells. It will burn the cells up. So all those things people are saying that they're giving their child stem cell is a lie. You can only trigger somatic stem cells. We have pluripotent stem cells, the one that are when the baby is forming, like the one that forms the organs and everything, when the baby is just from the embryo to, you know, this, from that area, that region of the zygote, embryo, and all that, all the way down to fetus. That's pluripotent. When you mature, you find those ones like in the bone marrow, because they differentiate into the plasma cells, they differentiate into the red blood cells, the white blood cells, and their precursors and all that. That's where you only find such things, one of the only places. The rest are somatic stem cells distributed all over the body. on standby to help fix whatever is damaged in the body, including in the brain, including inside, and it includes the brain. So they are there. That's why when somebody has stroke, the person begins to heal slowly and steadily. They are still there trying to help, but nerve cells grow slowly. So one has to be careful not to have a stroke. So just a few examples of these things. I'm not going to talk too much about them because it's like a full lecture. This is choline. This contains choline. This is pure EPA and DHA, cold processed. This one contains a lot of things for children, intellectual development. This is calcium, but I will not suggest we give children that. I will suggest we give this instead, which contains calcium amongst other things. It's more economical. This contains 6 strains of probiotics like Acidophilus, Lactobacillus acidophilus, and Bifidobacteria. This contains chamomile. A pack of this can last a child 2 or 3 months. This is fiber for the gut. Coenzyme Q10 is found here. Coenzyme Q10 helps to improve learning abilities. Go and Google it. People don't know about that. This contains carotenoid, vitamin A, and adaptogens that are necessary for what? Brain development and eyes, vision too, as well. There are so many, we can't talk about them, so we have them. That's B12 plus. This is a very pure cobalamin analog, and folate is found in here for nerve regeneration and rejuvenation. Remember, the brain is virtually a ball of nerves floating in fat. Just a layman's description. Don't go too far. Understand? This is what you can use to substitute milk for your child. There's a scoop in there. I think it has up to like more than 30 scoops. So the child can use that pack for up to more than a month. You understand? This tooth gel here is purely natural. It doesn't contain all those things that we mentioned that people don't know provoke autism. Remember that these children, oftentimes, as they are brushing their teeth, they are swallowing the toothpaste. Let's tell ourselves the truth. They are swallowing it. And you are giving your child triclosan to swallow every day, morning and night. You give your child fluoride to swallow every day, morning and night. Please, this toothpaste, you can even use it to eat bread if you like, but I didn't say you should use it to eat bread. But the toothpaste is natural. This cream contains nothing that will cause problem for the child. You can mice this cream for a month if you are being economical, but if you can afford it, you buy as much as you need. In case an autistic child has a wound, you want to go and carry chemical to start rubbing in the wound so that the chemical will enter the bloodstream direct now, right? No. You use something like this that is a very powerful natural antimicrobial agent with a powerful adaptogen to stimulate somatic stem cell healing. You can also use this as a spray because sometimes the child may not want to stay in one place. You can just spray this on that place and leave. I just watched every time you just spray there, just leave it. This one can last up to a year, doesn't finish. This deodorant does not contain aluminum. So it's even good for both mother and child. So and this stick can last you for 6 months. It doesn't finish. People often get tired of it and throw it away. You understand? It doesn't block pores and it doesn't contain aluminum. And it's very essential. This is the chocolate flavor of that other one. I'm just rushing through because this is what I use. I don't like stories. Just briefly about the applied behavioral analysis. It involves the use of techniques based on principles of behavior analysis to increase desired behaviors and reduce problem behaviors. That's basically what it is. It's a topic for another day. These are the ways we also go about these kind of things, from functional analysis, goal setting, assessment, intervention, evaluation, positive reinforcement. You reward the child when he does well. Give the child cues to encourage their behavior. If a child, that you start shouting, "Come, Joe, do it out." All those things are contraindicated. You're telling the child to come. You beckon on the child and be patient. If he doesn't come today, one day the child will come. You have to be patient. It's a sacrifice that you have to. Just the child did not make him or herself fall into any spectrum. Okay? So just be patient and it will work out. You understand? So you have to chaining and shaping and extinction. Those are just other techniques. So that's what I have for us for today with regards to autism. And let's not go into Down syndrome. I can just flash through and see what it's about briefly. This is a topic for another day. These are all, then we can see, these are what people use for children that have Down syndrome. Then cerebral palsy is another one again. They all have something in common, which is neural development, as you can see. This is how we manage cerebral palsy. These are what we use for kids that have cerebral palsy. Then we have dyslexia. This is for people that have dyslexia, and it's often associated with ADHD. You understand why the person is trying to sleep, the brain is trying to ask the person in the night, why is W spells the spelling of W starts with letter D? Why not W? The person will wake up again. Those are the kind of things. So you are what you consume, and there's a constant battle between factors that repair and protect our bodies and those that break it down. So we have to be on the winning side. So at this point in time, I thank those of us that have been patient enough to listen, and I hope we got value for being here as we are here. We have got value here while listening, and I hope the next time we're going to have something like this, we have more and more mothers who are going through this. There's no need to be ashamed. A lot of people I don't want to start calling names of governors that have autism. There are people that have autism all around, and I can prove it. But in order to avoid problem, don't think that your child, most people had it or have it, but it's just suppressed. So thank you for listening, and it's time for questions. So at this point in time, if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself. These are just a few research. You can see the EP and DHA. You see how it works? You can see that them. These are just other things that we'll discuss some other time. And I thank everybody for listening. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask your questions by typing them in the chat room. And if you enjoyed our conversation today, you can say one or two things in the chat room, and then I'll answer. So do we have any questions? Okay, someone said we should just call the names and tell them to mute themselves. Oh, that's a good idea. If you have any question, you can just chat or you raise your hand, and then I'll unmute you. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay, please go ahead. You can ask your question. Go ahead. Hello, can you hear me?
Please, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
What if the child doesn't? How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Fine. And you?
Please, sir. My name is Zara Igonengi.
Zara, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. It's my brother. My brother has autism.
Oh, go on.
So I want to ask the question if you can understand it.
Go ahead.
My brother can talk, but he's now saying I'm fine, but not in a correct way.
How does he say I'm fine?
He says I'm fine.
Okay, that's actually part of what we're talking about. You see, the part of the brain that controls speech. There's a part of the brain that controls speech. I think it's on the left side. I think it's on the left side, controls speech. Or the side, I think it's opposite the side, your dominant hand. That shows you that different parts of the brain control different things. There's a part that controls hearing, smelling. The olfactory lobe is in front here. You understand? And a lot of others. So if that part of the brain is not properly developed, that means the child will continue to say, I'm fine. That is why it's essential that the things that the child needs for brain development is key. You see that the child has been saying that for a long time because the neural connections have not come together to make the child say, I am fine. Do you understand?
Okay. Yes,
so
sir.
the child needs to take the things that will make the brain develop, and the speech center in the brain will develop up to the point where the child will say, I am fine. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Zara. Do you have any other question for me?
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you, madam?
Yeah, I'm the aunt to the little girl that just spoke. And my son is the autism child. His name is Isaac. why is a, how will I put it, a warm-blooded person. Most time he's always having not temperature, but warm temperature. Sometimes I'll be called upon that he's running temperature. I'll be like, it's not running temperature. It's just like that. Because I can't be giving him what's it called, paracetamol, or bathing him every time. But I know he's not running temperature. That is his normal temperature.
Mm.
Why
Okay.
does he always run that kind of temperature?
Okay. There's a part of the brain that is called the hypothalamus. Okay. Okay, Mr. Abimetel, just a moment, please. Get to you shortly. Let me just say, there's a part of the brain that is called the hypothalamus. Okay. That part of the brain is very crucial for temperature regulation. Remember, we're talking about poor brain development. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
That means as the brain gets developed, it will learn how to control temperature. Then another thing again you should also be cautious of is that there's there's what we call the temperature gradient. That means if your hand is, in a simple way, if your hand is cold and you touch the child's body and your hand is colder than the child's body, you would think the child's body is hot. But it may mean that your own hand is actually cold. I don't know whether you've noticed that before.
No, I've not noticed that.
Sometimes it happens. Yeah. If your hand is cold, you can find out that you know, that you may think that if your hand is cold, you may think that the other person's body is hot, actually, but that's not often the case. So these are the two ways I can physically explain this matter. As far as the child is not having malaria, typhoid, and other issues that can lead to
No.
Okay, so Mr. Zayomi, you can mute yourself now so we can hear from Mr. Ebimetel. Okay, Zayomi, you can mute yourself now. Okay, good evening, Mr. Ebimetel.
Yes, during the course of your lecture, you talked about dietary tips, what to avoid. I was trying to ask, we in this part of Nigeria, what, like the South where I stay now, what are the kind of foods that would advise that we give children with autism?
Beautiful. You see, oftentimes we talk about the things to avoid. Do you know why? Because if we want to talk about the different foods you can give a child with autism, we may talk from now till 12 p.m. But if you know the things to avoid, then you realize that every other thing that does not contain, that is not part of those things to avoid, the child can take. If you look at the screen, I showed something called ultralight. It's an alternative for the child. You understand? I showed some alternatives. You understand? For instance, instead of you to use those shawarma wraps, you can use large leaves. Those leaves, when you're making the thing that children eat, that you use to wrap like that, thing like shawarma wrap. Why don't you use a shawarma wrap for a child that has autism? Why don't you use giant lettuce leaves to wrap that thing? You understand? You see, these are tricks people, like instead of taking something like pasta, there's something else, I can't remember the name now, that is like pasta too. You understand? Why are you giving your child, why instead of giving the child Indomie, for instance, find something else. There are other things that don't contain gluten and monosodium glutamate, like Indomie. You understand? Some children even like, they even like fried egg. I've not heard of eggs being a problem. Chocolate, I've not heard of chocolate being a problem. If it's a problem, I've never heard of it before. Maybe I need to go and do more research. But I've never heard of chocolate giving problem to any child. Are you getting what I'm saying? Beans, for instance, I never heard that beans is a problem. So you can play with beans from mai to akara to bean cakes to normal beans and all that. Are you getting me? Yes. Even plantain. I've not heard that plantain is a problem, but you don't give Don't let the plantain be too ripe because you know that it gets too sugary. You understand? These are tricks that you use. I never heard that fish is a problem. Fish has never been a problem. In fact, your EPA and DHA are basically from fish. They are even called fish oils. In fact, in some cases, that's the docosahexaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid, and ALA, the essential fatty acids. Are you getting what I'm saying? So there's so many things children can eat, but it's just because Africans we are used to a stereotype. That is why you will hear somebody say, if I won't give the child rice, I won't give the child eba, wheat. What will the child now eat now? Is there no unripe plantain amala? Is there no soya bean flour? There are many things you can give the child. As the child improves, look, just know that the younger the child, the faster the child will improve. I know a child that was 1.5 years old when it was detected. And by the time the child was 3.5 years, it was nearly undetectable. I personally handled that child myself. You understand? I personally handled that child myself. So, what are we talking about? So, do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. Someone said that this meeting was actually outstanding. Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Somebody has typed an epistle here. Doctor, I saw somewhere you said male gender. Do you mean the boys are more likely to be autistic than the female child? Yes. Such is life. I completely agree with you on improved neural connection that I think is the most important factor to be looked into. That is the most important factor. A lot of people don't even know that this improved neural connection we're talking about is what people are, in fact, is better you even, just know that improved neural connection is better, okay, the question is very simple. What improvement are you giving to that child neurally? You understand? All those things you are teaching the child, where is he entering? It's not entering anywhere because there's no space. There is no space. So that's the problem. Then about those drugs, what are the very ones you want a person who cannot afford all to start with? Well, you see, one thing about this matter is that I like being thorough. That's one thing about me. Everybody that has heard me attend to you, if you know you are here and I've attended to you, you will see that I'm a very thorough person. I go as far as even saying, let me see the child. I even talk with children to know, first of all, this to know whether they can even hear at all. That's just a brief, I don't have the equipment, but at least common sense. If you talk to a child and the child responds, you know that the ear is open. You know, you have to do things like that, you know. So I like being thorough, and I wouldn't want a situation where people waste their money. I'm not a trader. Do you understand? A trader will say, just bring anything you have, I'll give you something. I don't do that. So there's just a basic minimum I suggest every mother should focus on. It's expensive, but it's not expensive at the same time. Just imagine a child coming out of this issue. As you are seeing that child getting married, you will remember when the child was having this problem, and you'll be grateful to God that you took that risk and did what you were supposed to do. Trust me, I'm talking from experience. Now, how do we get their price? Okay, just chat me up on WhatsApp. I'll get them across to you. Oh, this meeting was definitely outstanding because there's so many things you mentioned I, even as an educator, knows nothing about. So thank you so much, Doctor. Okay, thank you too. I'm open to learn. Anybody that wants to teach me, I am here to learn from anybody. So now, do we have any other question? Do we have any other question? Okay, so at this juncture, we're going to thank everybody for coming, and we hope that next time, from what we have learned here and seen, you see that this was actually, if you know that this was actually something that was good for you, I suggest we call our friends next time to join. Then when do you think we should have this again so that we can talk maybe more on Down syndrome? We'll just be mixing autism and other conditions so that other people can join. When do you think it will be? You can type your suggestion. When you feel we should have this meeting again, you can type it on WhatsApp. And then you can also, then if you got across to me through Facebook and other social media handles, you can actually go back there and make a comment about what you have observed and how we are we are handling this matter, and that will be highly appreciated. Thank you very much, everybody, and good night.